The voice behind Team Rocket's unforgettable motto has fallen silent forever. James Carter Cathcart, the man who brought to life some of the most beloved and recognizable voices in Pokémon history, has passed away at 71 after a quiet but devastating battle with throat cancer. For decades, his work shaped childhoods, defined characters, and brought soul to animated worlds. But behind the iconic lines and unforgettable performances was a story few ever knew. A life filled with passion, creativity, and ultimately heartbreaking struggle. This isn't just a tribute. It's a journey into the life and legacy of one of the most iconic voice actors of our time, and how, even in his final moments, he was still fighting for the voices that made us all believe in something bigger. On a quiet Tuesday in Forest Hills, New York, James Carter Cathcart took his final breath in hospice care. The official cause, according to reports, was complications from throat cancer, a diagnosis he had been battling privately for some time. But when the news broke, fans across the world were stunned. Social media erupted in tributes. Longtime Pokémon viewers, casual fans, and fellow voice actors shared their memories, clips, and heartbreak. For many, it felt like losing a piece of their childhood. Because James wasn't just a voice actor, he was the voice of Pokémon's golden age. But for all the love pouring in, one thing became immediately clear. Most people had no idea just how much of their favorite show and their favorite characters came from this one man. If you grew up watching the English dub of Pokémon, chances are you heard James Carter Cathcart nearly every single episode and never even realized it. He was Meowth, the wisecracking villain who somehow became everyone's favorite. He was James, the flamboyant half of Team Rocket whose dramatic flair became legendary. He was Professor Oak, the calm and guiding voice at the start of every trainer's journey. And he was Gary Oak, the cocky rival who always kept Ash on his toes. Few actors in any medium can claim such a range, and fewer still can switch effortlessly between comic relief, genuine menace, and heartfelt sincerity, sometimes all within a single scene. Cathcart didn't just perform these characters, he embodied them. His voice was the thread that wove Pokémon together for generations of fans. But what most viewers didn't realize is that this level of mastery took decades of experience and a journey that started far from the world of anime. Long before he ever set foot in a recording booth for Pokémon, Cathcart had already built a robust voice career. He voiced Vector the crocodile in Sonic X and the Shadow the Hedgehog video game, proving his range extended beyond Team Rocket's chaos. He became a staple in commercial voice work, lending his unmistakable tone to brands like Kit Kat and Coors Light. If you were watching TV in the 80s and 90s, chances are you heard his voice in more places than you even knew. But James wasn't chasing fame. He didn't seek the spotlight. He was part of a rare breed of voice actor, someone whose passion for performance was never about being seen, only about being heard. His ability to transform into countless characters with subtlety and depth made him a go-to name behind the scenes. And yet, there was another side of him even fewer people knew about, one far away from microphones and animation studios. Before the world knew him as James of Team Rocket, he was simply Jimmy, a teenager obsessed with music. In high school, he played in several bands and quickly realized that performing wasn't just a hobby, it was a calling. One of those early bands, the Laughing Dogs, caught the attention of Columbia Records. They released 2 albums in the late 1970s, combining rock and storytelling in a way that mirrored the emotional range James would later bring to his voice acting. After that, he became the lead vocalist for the Carter Cathcart Band, performing original music and refining the stage presence that would one day translate into unforgettable characters. Music was his first love. Voice acting came later, but the two were always connected. Both were ways for him to tell stories, to tap into emotions, to reach people. And even as his career in animation took off, music remained a constant, quiet part of his identity. But while his voice became more famous than ever, it also became the very thing that would betray him. In 2023, Cathcart announced that he would be stepping away from voice work due to a serious health issue. It was the first public sign that something was wrong. Behind the scenes, he had been diagnosed with a severe form of throat cancer. a cruel twist of fate for someone whose voice had been his entire life's work. What fans didn't know was that even as he underwent treatment, he continued to record dialogue for as long as his body allowed. The studio sessions grew shorter, the roles fewer, but he didn't stop, not until it became impossible to continue. For over a year, his condition remained largely out of the public eye. Only close friends and family knew the extent of his struggle. But when the announcement of his passing came, everything became heartbreakingly clear. And just like that, the voice that had shaped so many childhoods was gone. What made Cathcart special wasn't just the number of characters he voiced, it was how he voiced them. Each one felt alive, textured, and distinct. You could watch an entire episode where he played 4 characters in the same scene and never notice. That's how good he was. He wasn't a celebrity. He didn't chase conventions or red carpets, but his work reached farther than many mainstream stars could ever dream of. He helped create emotional moments, comedic timing, and unforgettable lines that still live in memes, videos, in the memories of millions. To this day, there are fans who are just now realizing the same man voiced Meowth and Professor Oak. That's the mark of a true artist, when your performance becomes inseparable from the character itself. And now, as fans revisit those episodes, there's a new weight behind every line, because it's no longer just nostalgia, it's remembrance. As news of his passing spread, fans began calling for a tribute from Pokémon itself, whether through a special episode, an in-game dedication, or a simple message at the end of an airing. The demand is growing. And honestly, it's hard to imagine the franchise not doing something. In the meantime, fans have taken matters into their own hands. Social media pages are filled with montages of his performances, fan art of Team Rocket holding vigil, edits of Professor Oak offering one last bit of wisdom. There's no question that James Carter Cathcart left behind a legacy, one that can't be measured in episodes or accolades. It lives in the sound of a voice that shaped an entire generation's imagination. James Carter Cathcart may be gone, but his voice still echoes in every Team Rocket blastoff, every Oak lecture, and every sarcastic Meowth comeback. He wasn't just a performer. He was a storyteller, a musician, and a quiet legend in an industry that too often forgets its heroes. And somewhere, in the hearts of millions of fans, his characters are still speaking, just as loud, just as vivid, and just as unforgettable as ever. So the next time you hear, "Prepare for trouble," and make it double, remember the man who made it all possible. Rest in peace, James, and thank you for giving voice to our childhoods.